Okay, I don't know how much of this you're getting. I just started up here. Let's go. So I told the telescope here to glue to M34. You can see that in this observatory window right here. That's the object. And then we took a 10-second, right here, exposure. We'll do that again. Make sure the telescope's tracking. And that looks pretty good. M34 is an open cluster. It's not very exciting. But one of the things we want to do is make sure that the telescope's pointing exactly where we want it to. So we're going to plate solve this image. I'm going to turn to Analyze and run a program called Pinpoint, okay? And I'm going to click Process. And what it's going to do is it's going to match this image with the star catalog. Not only that, but it's going to tell me the image scale. It's going to tell me how the camera's rotated. So it's finished. I'm going to close it. And I'm going to come back here now to this observatory window and sync on that. So it's going to tell the telescope, here's exactly where you're pointing, okay? Now let's go over to Stellarium. Where's M34? So let's move over. Here's some other, actually, where's M1? Well, let's go over to these other open clusters, M38 and M36. So we'll go back to our software, and we're going to go to Object ID, M36. We're going to search, and all it finds is this open cluster. We're going to do a go to. It's going to move quite a bit here, and hopefully, if we polar aligned it well, it should be pretty well centered. Let's find out here. As soon as this, you can see how it's grayed out here, the go to. As soon as that goes dark, we'll take an image. All right, let's see what we got. I'm not planning on auto guiding tonight because most of these images you can easily capture within 10 seconds. And typically with my setup, unless it's more than a minute, you don't need auto guide. Okay, so there it is. It's down here. Let's put a pair of crosshairs on there so we can see. This is about a 1 degree field of view, and here it is down here. M36 is down here. Now there's a couple. Let me show you something here. We're going to analyze this again, okay? Do a plate solve. And it's got that. Now we'll sync on it, okay? And we'll tell the telescope to go to again. And we'll see how well it lines up this time. And there's some other ways you can do this, and I'll show it to you in a minute here. All right, let's take another exposure. There, you see how that centered it up? Now, there's one more little thing you can do here too, and I'm going to do one more plate solve because the software is going to need this. And we're going to come up here to the telescope tab, and we're going to do it. See this center on image here? We're going to do calibrate, and we're going to tell it to use the pinpoint, the plate solve, okay? Now, what I can do is see this star right here. Let me move this out of the way. See this star right here? I'm going to left click on it, right click on it, and tell it point telescope there. And we'll watch over here in the telescope window. It's slewing, and now it's island tracking. Let's take an exposure and see if it's centered on that star right there. So it should move the cluster out of the way and center on that star. Let's see how well that did. Yeah, that did pretty good. It's right there. So now if we want to go back to the center of this cluster, we just tell it point the telescope here. You can see it slewing in the observatory window here. All right, and we'll take another exposure to make sure it did what it was supposed to do. Yeah, there we go. All right, so what is our next target here? Where do we go to M30? Let's go to M38. It's another open cluster. Once again, not real exciting. Go back to our catalog, M38. Tell it to search. And go to. This one's pretty close compared to the slew we had from M40. What was that, M46? The first slew there. So this should be right on or really close. Let's do a 10-second image. You can watch this little progress bar here. Yeah, there we go. That's a little more populated, but that's pretty good. Back to, let's see, M1. Let's go down to the Crab Nebula. So we're going to go back to our catalog and M1. Search. See, now there's a lot of M1, so you got to be careful here. So we're going to click on this one. It's a supernova remnant. See that? We're going to tell it to go to. All right. And there we are. We're there. This is probably going to be not real bright with a 10-second exposure, but let's see what we get. And then in a minute here, we're going to check focus. Okay, there it is. It's off a little bit to the right there. Now remember what we did before? We did actually we shouldn't even have to do this. We should be able to just say, because we plate solved already, point telescope here. And wait for it to stop on this go to turn. There we go. Let's take another image and see if it centered that. Yep, there we go. Let's get rid of this crosshairs. Okay, now one thing we can do here is we can bring up this screen stretch. And what this does is well, what you're going to see is the image getting brighter, okay? It's not adding anything to it. It's just, like it says, stretching. So I'm going to push it to, let's go to Mac high here. That's almost too much, okay? Let's go back to medium. I like that. Let's try a 20-second exposure just to see how much difference that makes. It's always nice to have something to do while you're waiting for these. You can be looking for the next object or something like that. But like I said, we're not looking for astronomy picture of the day here. We're just trying to get through some of these Messier objects. So let's see what we get here. That's better. If I zoom in a little, there probably isn't going to be much yeah, there's some detail there. You can see some of the filaments. So we'll go back out, full frame. Like I said, this is about a 1 degree. Now while we're here, let's go to focus. And it looks pretty good, but go to focus here, and we're going to bin it 2 by, I'll talk about that later. But let's just take a 3-second exposure of this field, because we're just going to work on stars now to get it focused. All right, so there aren't too many here. This one here is pretty bright. See this one over on the left here? What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a box around that, so that the only thing we're going to take an image of, this is called a subframe, is that box, okay? And this will come down pretty quick. There we go. Now, come down here. See the camera statistics? See this full width half maximum 3.7? We'd like to get that below 3. Now, the seeing, the sky, the internet tells me the seeing is really terrible tonight. This might be as good as we can get. Let me change this for a second and do this again. Change the binning. So this number is going to change now, but I want to just see. All right, so see this right here, 7.22. That's not good. Let's see if we can fix that. So here's my focus control, and I'm just going to move it in 20 steps here, just to see what happens to this 7.22 number, okay, if it goes up or down. Let's see what happens to that. All right, that's the right direction. Let's move in again. Now, let me talk. This is a stepper motor. It can move that focuser a 16/10,000th of an inch. Now, that's pretty small. But on this telescope, this is an f4, Schmidt-Newtonian, the critical focus zone is 30 microns. Now, to put that in relation to, that means that to be in perfect focus, it's only a 30 micron movement of that focuser, okay? A credit card is 780 microns thick. So you can see the problem in astrophotography. When if you're trying to manually focus, it's almost impossible. You almost have to luck out. Let's see what happened to our full width half max here. It went the other way, didn't it? This is what happens with bad seeing. All right, let's move it out a couple times, see what happens. Try this again. We do have some autofocus capabilities, but it doesn't work well when the seeing's bad. So we're at 574. I moved it again. Let's see what happens. It's coming down. Let's try it one more time. Looks like it's staying about there. Yeah, that's not good. We're definitely not going to get astronomy picture of the day. I'm going to just move it one more time and just to see what happens. I'd like to get down below 4 at least. No, it's the wrong way. All right. So let's see. What's our next target now? We can go to I guess M37, and then we'll come down to Orion here. So let's go to M37. It's another open cluster. Catalog M37. We'll search for that, and there's only one. It only found one object. Go to, and we want to go back to down here on camera control to find DSO at 10-second exposure. All right, let's try this. If you're, I should have told you this, go out to, if you're on YouTube, there's a little, in the frame there's a little thing that looks like a white gear, and it's quality. If you click on that and push the quality all the way up to at least 1400, okay, just to see these things well, or it's going to be disappointing. Let me see if I'll see if I can pull that over for you. Okay, this did pretty good. Look at that. See that? We're getting. This is a nice open cluster. Yeah, that's pretty well centered. I'm probably, for today, we're going to live with that. All right, let's go down to stellarium here. Where do I want to go? You can't see it here. I'm in stellarium now. M79. I think that's a globular cluster. It's not real great. I should actually move stellarium over on this screen. All right, so let's go to M78. Actually, if you've got a Messier chart, you can see what these things are at least supposed to look like. This is probably going to be really small compared to something like M13. All right, let's try this. Whoa, I don't see anything there. Oh, wait, it's over here. It's not a, yeah, here it is. Let's try. This thing's really faint. This is one of those times when we would we would probably do some auto guiding and get like a 2-minute exposure or something, or at least, and then maybe get a bunch of those and stack them. Are we done? Okay, let's try this again, see at least we got it centered. We can, let's see here. I should do this. This is my bad. 78. Yeah, see, it's these two. Let's look at what this is supposed to look like. Yeah, so these are really long exposures, but you can see like these two nebulae here, and with stars in them. And if we get this out of the way, yeah, so they're, yeah, you know, it's with a short exposure, it's really not well. This little track right here, that might be something moving through the field. Let's see if it hasn't moved out of the field of view. Actually, I'm going to do a presentation on this at the next meeting. Asteroids and near Earth objects. Let's see if we can. Yeah, it looks like it's right here. Maybe. Let's try it again. This could just be some artifact, but that's typically what a trail looks like. See if it moved over here. I don't see it. It's probably lost in this nebulae. One more time. Let's get rid of the crosshairs. I don't see anything, so I'm not sure what that was. All right, now bear with me while I go back to Stellarium. And what is 78? 78's another nebula. Let's take a look at that. Oh, we did went to 78. I'm sorry. There's a lower one down here. What is that? It's pretty low. Oh, maybe not. Okay, we're going to go to Orion now, and I'm going to show you some of the issues with that. So go to M43. M43. One of the issues with Orion is the brightness varies so much over the object that to do it without filters, I'll show you what happens here. So let's do a 10-second image. Oh, here we go. So let me zoom out a little bit. And let's go to point telescope here. But you can see how it's, even with a 10-second image, this is a monochrome camera, how it's really just blown out. It is because the central core is so bright. And to get some of those, I'll show you in a minute here. You see how they're going. I mean, here's the fish's mouth. The trapezium's in here. Let's cut down the screen stretch to low. That should help a little. So what happens here, if we're going to go to 20 seconds. You almost have to, unless you have a full color camera, and that does a great job because half of the pixels are only picking up green. Okay, this is picking up everything. This is one object I think where a full color camera probably does a better job. Now, typically what I would do is take pictures through red, green, and blue filters and then stack those together. You can see here we're getting some more of this. 20 seconds gave us some more these wings out here, and we're picking up some nebulosity there. But just to shoot monochrome of M43 can be disappointing. All right, let me move out here. Where else can we? Well, what I have to do now is a meridian flip, okay? And if you're not familiar with that, this is a German equatorial mount. I'll tell you what, before we do that, let's go down to M79. Because right now everything is east of the meridian, the rest of the objects that we're interested in. M79. This is pretty low in the sky, but we'll take a look at it. And basically, it's if you've used the 16-inch at the hill, you swing the tube north and you swing the counterweights around, and now you're on the other side of the meridian, and you can track for another 6 hours if you have to. That is one of the issues with a German equatorial. Compared to a fork mount, you can track right across the sky. It's not a problem. Let's take this back to 10 seconds. Oops. See what this looks like. Okay, anything. Let's see what I did here. Let's do a pinpoint solve here. I'm going to do what's called an all sky search. Here we go. I got that. Let's process that. Okay, close. Let's sync on that coordinate. Okay, and do another go to again. We used to, before all this, you could spend an hour just trying to get an object centered before we had plate solving and go-to telescopes. And it's cold and it's late, you're tired, and let's see what we get here. There we go. Yeah, so see, it's a globular. That's not too, very small. Seeing's bad tonight, so I can't resolve the core. There's just no way. But compared to something like M13, which would fill half the screen. But that's not one off the list. Okay, I'm probably going to stop the recording now because I have to do a meridian flip and then I have to rebalance the scope. And I will come back. If I don't, we'll catch you next time.